I could answer this question by pointing to the inflation forecast.
Welcome back to Financial Stockholm. I'm Christopher Crystal, and today is December 9th, 2022, December 9th. And this morning, or today, what we see coming out of Sweden is a lot of focus on the police. This was part of the campaign for the coalition government. The news out on the police today is a bit of a scandal. We had a top police officer who was, or commander, who was promoting his colleague, who was a woman, after he had an affair with her. And while he was having an affair with her, he gave her a substantial raise. Now, this was kind of put through on the idea that he was promoting women, which was a protocol that the Swedish police were working on and saying, hey, we want to have an equality-based hiring practice, and as opposed to maybe a merit-based. And so she was promoted and she was given a high raise. And now it's kind of come back to hit him to say, well, you know, they had it as an affair, and that's why she got her promotion and that's why she got her raise, which is unfortunate because she might have been extremely well qualified and she might have deserved that raise. However, there's a question now because they had an affair. And we really don't know. And we really don't see the improvement of the police. And all we know now is that we have a lot of corruption. And this is really bad because Sweden has been a country that really wants to fight against corruption. And with the scandals that we've had over the last few years within our banking and finance system, with our corruption there, we have still yet to learn what the prison sentence will be, if there will be, for the woman who was running Swedbank. And we have yet to see what's happening with some other issues. Today, though, we did get money back to the Swedish Pension Authority from Alra, which was a trading company that was trading in the Swedish pension system and was robbing money from Swedish clients. So we will see what has happened there. But unfortunately, the Swedish police have shown that they have a high level of corruption, and they will have to do some shuffling around to get through to the bottom of it. We also see that our government is not really a very stable government. We have this Moderaterna party, they're in the government. We have the Liberalerna, they're in the government, in government positions. And then we have the Christian Democrats. However, the large group that put the coalition together or got them across the finish line would be the Sverige Demokrats. And this is a group that has a high level of Nazis within their party. You have some very extreme people with views, and unfortunately, they've not been so good about getting rid of these individuals and excising them of their problem. So the problem is that several of the members within the Sverige Demokraterna, people like this guy Bjorn Soder, who's over on the West Coast, has been a strong proponent for nuclear. And while he's been a strong proponent for nuclear, and I love nuclear, you kind of have to defend the monster in order to get across your goal. So, you know, windmills, fine. Solar panels, fine. I don't agree with the basic fundamentals and the cost of them. However, if you're going to promote putting forth a non-emission product, I guess these are better than a coal burning product. But the problem is that when you have an individual like a Bjorn Soder recommending it, you have to defend the monster. It's kind of like the Frankenstein story. Who defends the monster, and who will say that it shouldn't be chased from the village? And that's kind of where we are. But today we did get some good news. Fortum is working with EDF to produce 2 SMR products, one in Finland and one in Sweden. And that's fantastic because we need as much nuclear as we can get. You do have a lot of people casting aspersions on nuclear, saying, hey, you have 3 reactors out of commission right now because they're not working. And then you have to look at the maintenance schedule. And just like you see in France, you see in Sweden, if you do not maintain your maintenance, if you do not keep your schedule, you cannot run your plants. So it's a little bit odd on the timing that we have all this push for nuclear, but at the same time, we have scheduled maintenance couldn't take place, and therefore nuclear is taken out of the loop for the electrical power needs in the middle of a crisis when everybody should be promoting the cheapest, most effective carbon-free solution that produces at the best price, which would be nuclear. However, it all coincides at the same time, and you have a problem because of the Ukrainian war and the cutoff of gas. You have a European electricity crisis, and so just when you need as much nuclear as you could, uh, Europe has turned back to coal, dirty coal in Germany, but in Sweden, we're focusing on the nuclear, but we haven't done the maintenance. Finland finalized and built up their nuclear and had it in full commission, but then suddenly had a problem with one of the reactor parts where they were not able to use it, so it's offline as well. France has had, I think it was 6 of the reactors off because of the because of scheduled maintenance didn't take place. So we have a real problem with that. And then we have a problem in our pricing network with our Nord Pool, which was developed in 1993 in Norway. Sweden joined in 1996. And then in 1999, you had Finland and Denmark adding in. And now today, Nord Pool is located in London and is owned by Euronext, which is based in Amsterdam. And the product itself, the electricity, is traded in euros. It does a future day forward pricing model, and it's based on European models. And then we break the region of Sweden into zones. So you have 3-4 zones, you have 4 zones, and it's based on energy production. So areas with lower energy production have a higher cost. Areas with higher production have a lower cost. But today, now you see a pricing level of 100 crowns difference between the north and the south. That used to be a dramatically wider difference or wider spread. But today, because of the greater European energy crisis, the overall cost of the electricity is higher. Now, our Swedish energy industry has said that we will see higher energy costs, and we can no longer take energy cost for granted as being cheap. And that's because we've now entered into the European market. So no matter how much we're producing, we're a deficit market. We're an energy poor market. Germany's turned off its power. Amsterdam's cut off the gas, so they're at a power deficit. France has not scheduled the maintenance, so they're at a power deficit and had to import power. So even if we're producing more, we're still going to be at a higher cost market. And why would you do this? Well, if you do this, you're raising the tax income that you'll receive on this cost. So you're phasing out the nuclear, or excuse me, you're phasing out the diesel. So when you eliminate cars from the equation, where you will no longer sell cars or trucks in diesel as of 2030, 2035, what will you replace it with? Either hydrogen or electricity. And now with electricity, in Sweden, we're already increasing the tax on it. It'll go through on December 1 or January 1. You will see the 10% increase in tax. You will increase your income to the state through taxes. And then you will have a higher level to tax off of to keep you sustained level of income. And that will happen. So even when you phase out cars from diesel and gasoline, you will have the power source of the electricity at a high level. So the cost of the electricity will likely not come down even if Sweden built 10 nuclear reactors in the short term, because we're still providing energy for a deficit poor market of Europe. Okay, so this is important as a message for the Swedish politicians to start to communicate to the Swedish consumer that we will have a higher cost, and this will be going forward. But we are in the middle of trying to produce more energy for ourselves, which would mean that we would have more energy to sell to Europe, which would hopefully mean a better GDP instead of having the highest price in Europe. But we'll see how this resolves itself. And you have the questions of our green steel, which you have this company called Hybrid, which is going to take something like 30% of the Swedish energy production to produce its green fossil fuels. They're already testing this hydrogen storage unit that they have up north. and this will be completed by 2024. But remember, on 15 to 20 terawatt hour production needed for this hydrogen, that's roughly 30% of the Swedish 85 terawatt hours produced per annum, this is going to make things much more expensive. So this is one of the reasons why we're developing more nuclear, so we can offer a manufacturing hub. And this is one of the important things to understand about the EU and the current energy and where the energy or how the energy crisis is going to be resolved. The countries within the EU that are building nuclear are on the quote unquote peripheral. So Poland has signed on for 2 new ones. You have countries in the Baltics doing surveys for nuclear power. And when I say Poland, they're having 2 nuclear power built by GE Hitachi. You're looking at Serbia, you're looking at the Czech Republic, you're looking at other areas outside of the quote unquote developed Eurozone to have the nuclear developed. So we will be building kind of a nuclear or energy rich ring, which will do the manufacturing where you have a lower population base to provide the manufacturing structure for Europe to stay in the game and not have a huge wealth transfer over to places like India and China, which have already done a lot to build their nuclear or their energy networks involving nuclear and coal. So that's one way to look at what's happening and why we would see these turns towards nuclear in the regions outside of Germany or say Amsterdam, Holland. So forgive me for calling Holland Amsterdam, but that's the main hub. And you need the energy structure to have your manufacturing. And then also what I think what we see in Sweden is we're not focused on the Twitter issue of censorship. That's because the EU would be censoring Twitter, and Sweden also has a similar policy. So your free speech up to a limit. So that's not part of the discussion in Sweden. We do see also that the inflation issue becomes a key focus for us, and we're in the midst of it. You still have food prices going up. Norway showed lower inflation, but that doesn't mean much. England showed slightly lower inflation, but if you look at the German businesses and closures, if you go to their German website, which is included in the notes, you can look at the increase in closures of businesses in Germany, and this is due primarily to the cost of energy. So this is something to be worried about. And so although we've seen some reduction within the inflation components, we haven't seen enough. And then if we look at the US and we look at the European, I include this in notes what to look for, but we're not completely out of the woods, and we should still be very cautious about the rate hiking cycle and what to expect out of there, because we may not be done and the US may not be done at a low level. So with that, I'll wish you a good weekend, and I hope we've helped. But remember, whether you're trading short-term or long-term, there's always money to be made in the market. The market can be trading up, and if you're looking at the fundamentals, you have to make your decision on whether you want to be in it. And if you're looking at the trading, you have to see if you hit your plateau and if you're about to go back down, or if you'll keep trending up. So make your decision, and hopefully you're trading successfully and making money in the market. I wish you a good weekend. Thank you very much.